Trick or treat! Give me candy!
Oh. It's you. Well, what are you supposed to be?
I'm the embodiment of a more innocent time in your life, before years of disappointment and bad choices turned you into a jaded, cynical jerk!
You're too old to be trick-or-treating. Here's a Twix.
Well, folks, it's almost that time. Halloween is drawing very near. A day full of ghouls, goblins, and other terrible beasts like vampires and werewolves and zombies and Jimmy Hart? This week, I'm reviewing Monster Brawl, a movie about who cares, it's got monsters fighting each other, and Kevin Nash is in there too. Let's dive right in! The film portrays a no-holds-barred tournament between some of the biggest, most memorable monsters in history. Kill or be killed. The last one standing is the champion. The Mummy, the Cyclops, Werewolf, Frankenstein, Zombie Man, Lady Vampire, Swamp Gut, Witch? Bitch? Hang on. Did someone hit a snag with the trademark police or something? Monster Brawl was written, directed, produced, and edited by a man named Jesse Thomas Cook, whose other work includes B-grade horror films like The Hexecutioners, Scarce, and Septic Man. Yes, this guy does a lot of work in his movies. I wonder if he... Oh, yes, he also acts in them too. Why am I not surprised? Bitch! The tournament takes place in an abandoned cemetery. The fighters are separated into two categories, undead and creature. For an underground competition that's being broadcast to the masses with no explanation as to how or where, they put a lot of work into the production. There's graphics, there's music, there's a tale of the tape. They thought of everything. There's a pair of announcers calling the action, one of whom is Buzz Chambers, played by Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall. And no, he won't be wearing drag at any time in this movie. Buzz's counterpart in this movie is color commentator Sasquatch Sid, played by Art Hindle. Sometimes in the heat of battle, his voice reminds me of Fred Willard's, which makes things really confusing for me since it just reminds me of Russell Madness.
Watch out, the mummy locks Lady Vampire into a merciless sleeper hold submission.
The last man or mummy standing will face the incredible Russell Maniac.
Their special guest for the evening is the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. I was shocked to learn that Hulk Hogan didn't receive any kind of special thanks credit in this movie by default. Not only does Jimmy announce the combatants to the ring while flanked by some scantily clad ladies. Well, sure, that's a staple in every horror movie now. It's in the Constitution. He also has a pre-show interview with the promoter, cause sure, we needed reasons as to why these monsters have come together to fight.
And when everyone else was out partying on Friday nights, I'm sitting at home watching Japanese death matches. It kind of fizzled out, but I went back to the drawing board. We don't want them ripping arms off people. So that's when we came up with the idea.
I'll bet you anything Hart made those exact same faces when he read the script. Before the shindig kicks off, our ringside announcers interview the cemetery's gravekeeper, who warns them that having the show here is a bad idea.
The soil is cursed, boy. You've gone and stirred up a heap of trouble. You're all doomed.
Thank you.
Each of the combatants are given a short origin story before their match, though I'm not entirely certain if these are meant to be seen by the audience watching the tournament. After all, one of them involves an insane secret experiment happening at a military base run by the corrupt Colonel Kevin Nash. Yeah, not sure John Q. Public is supposed to know about Big Sexy's attempt at creating an army of the undead.
Zombie Man.
Though I will admit, Nash is really showing his range as an actor here, throwing his support behind a vanilla midget. We get our first middleweight bout of the evening, as the Cyclops, who looks like he's just wearing Cyclops' visor from X-Men and covered it in silly putty, takes on the witch bitch, who's played by the future Rosemary. As the fighters make their way to the ring, they spend a lot of time playing to the crowd. The non-existent crowd, that is. Book a jobber as champion, and this is what you get, I guess. MMA referee Herb Dean is set to officiate the matches here in this tournament, but right away, his presence is incredibly confusing. I thought these were supposed to be fights to the death, yet he's trying to enforce the rules? Why is he there at all?
And look out, witch bitch with a dirty kick to the dick.
That was a groin shot. You need to keep it clean. We're not gonna have any of that.
Oh, go ahead, enforce the no groin shots rule, yet sit back while the Cyclops repeatedly bludgeons witch bitch in the face with a hammer. That's what happens when you take a bookie in Mexico. Dean is killed with a meat cleaver to the neck, making every match after this the no-rules fracas they were meant to be. Cyclops wins after melting the witch bitch's face off with a laser beam eye, which makes me wonder, where were her powers? She's a witch, isn't she? Who trained her for this tournament?
Forget all the necromancy crap, the conjuring, the dark magic.
Well, it wouldn't hurt to try. Our next match pits the Mummy versus Lady Vampire. The Mummy has a sun amulet that he points at the vampire's face, but unlike Cyclops' laser beam eye, which kills the witch bitch, the power of the sun only stuns the Lady Vampire. You know, the monster whose one weakness is sunlight? Lady Vampire makes a comeback and hits the Mummy with a tombstone, literally, and rips out his black heart to win the match. Man, times have really been tough for the Yeti. In this movie, there's a middleweight division and a heavyweight division, yet for whatever reason, the heavyweights get a full tournament and a championship belt, while those first two matches are all we see of the middleweights. How does that make sense? Each division has the same number of people in it. We get to see the heavyweights lumber around to the finals, but God forbid we see Cyclops and Lady Vampire get their shot at the championship. Oh my god, I finally realized why people hate hosses so much. Anyway, the first heavyweight match is between the werewolf and not quite the Swamp Thing. Before becoming a werewolf, Werewolf's pregnant wife was killed by a werewolf. Werewolf kills the werewolf, but not before being bit by the werewolf, becoming a werewolf himself. Werewolf. It's worth pointing out that most of the monsters in this movie are played by actual wrestlers, and it shows because the werewolf can cut a hell of a promo.
You must have been hearing it. All the frogs have been saying it. All the toads, all the creepy crawlers have been saying it. Here comes the wolf.
It's too bad he sounds like, well, like he's wearing werewolf teeth. Can you imagine if other wrestlers had to deal with that while giving iconic promos?
Talk about your songs, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass.
In another example of powers that only matter when they're convenient to the plot, the Wolfman completely no-sells Swamp Gut's toxic puke, which we just learned minutes before that it was supposed to fuck up its victim.
Swamp Gut's deadly slime attack is so toxic that it paralyzes the fisherman's nervous system instantly.
The only cool character of this entire movie kills Swamp Gut with a body splash onto his stomach, causing him to pop like a zit. Wolfie D will be moving on to the final round. In our last semi-final match, we have the aforementioned Zombie Man, who, in all honesty, really should have been played by this guy, taking on Frankenstein. Now, some of you literary nerds might be asking, hey, shouldn't he be called Frankenstein's monster? Well, the movie has already addressed that issue for you.
Technically, it's Frankenstein's monster, if you want to be a dick about it.
And besides, the doctor in this movie who created him is called Dr. Igora, so it's a totally different thing, even though he named the monster Frankenstein. Yeah. In what I consider a really cool casting choice, the monster is played by Robert Mayette, better known as Kurrgan. Frank is brought to the ring by his creator, while Zombieman comes out with Army Action Kevin Nash. In the middle of the match, Igor just gets into the ring and clocks the zombie in the head with a wrench, which leads to Nash stabbing the doctor in the back with an axe. The monster freaks out over Igor's death as he looked at him like a father. He hulks up and crushes the zombie's skull to win the fight, but that ends up unleashing a zombie uprising. All 6 of them. Hey, gotta save money where you can. Colonel Nash is really bad at self-defense and gets ganged up by the zombies, yet somehow his quads make it out okay. While this is going on, Sasquatch Sid also gets bit. They're finally saved by the caretaker, who shoots down all the remaining zombies and is never seen again. Why? Dude, you're the one who got mixed up with zombies. It's down to the final matchup, the werewolf versus Frankenstein. And for a couple of senseless killing machines, it's nice to know they have the decorum to pose for the weigh-in. He has the power to slow down time, but he wastes it on his intro? Weak. As the two monsters battle it out, Sid becomes more zombified, and Buzz has to take a stand.
I've never really gotten the hang of the whole healing the sick thing.
Frankenstein knocks out the werewolf with the move and is the presumed winner. The belt comes down from above, and wow, they really did a number on the spinner belt for this one, didn't they? The werewolf makes a comeback, but Frank weathers the storm and finishes the match by ripping the Wolfman's head in half. So the Frankenstein monster finally vanquishes his opponent and is declared the winner. Or is he?
And the Colonel is making a comeback, folks.
Nash reemerges and is now a zombie himself. All of the wounds he suffered from the original horde have magically healed up, but you know, just go with it.
Don't turn that channel, folks. This is gonna get nasty.
Oh dang, we were deprived of Diesel taking on the Interrogator. Also, the look on Dave Foley's face was pretty much the way I looked when the movie was over too. And that was Monster Brawl. So many questions. Why exactly did the monsters agree to take part in this tournament in the first place? What was their compensation? Who handled deposits and travel accommodations? Was Frank just sitting around waiting for his PO at the end of the night? Where does Frankenstein go after this? Where did the promoter go? Is he a hero for eradicating the world of some of the most horrifying monsters in one night? And last but not least, if this is presented like a TV show, who's watching this? This movie isn't as much a coherent story as it is a series of disconnected sketches. It's like the guy who made this movie had the idea to have all these monsters go head to head. Then after the first round, he was like, oh shit, we need to do something with the winners, so here, let's do multiple rounds, but not for everyone for some reason. The matches themselves are okay, but okay's about it. Like I mentioned earlier, all but a couple of the monsters were actual wrestlers, so the fighting looked good. I really like the visuals of this movie. It's shot and edited well, and the practical effects that are used, from the makeup to the gore, are great here. Nothing's too dark or difficult to see, the camera cuts aren't disorienting, you know exactly what's going on. The movie's aesthetic quality is the strongest thing about it. When I first heard about this movie, I envisioned it was going to be a big, overarching battle, Hunger Games style, where all the monsters fight each other in a big open-world environment. I think that would have been a much better use of the characters in a tournament. That way, we could have seen more interaction between the beasts, alliances, treachery, different matchups, and so on. And while I enjoyed the idea of turning the brawl into a sporting event with an ESPN vibe, for all the work the filmmakers put into the concept, I feel they could have done so much more with it. If they're going to have a pre-show interview between Jimmy Hart and the promoter, why not have some post-match analysis or promos with the winners?
I'm standing by with the Mummy. Now, Mummy, in your qualifying matchup against the Man-Bat, you ripped your opponent's wing off and beat him to death with it. What's your strategy going into the next round? Frights!
Monster Brawl is as mindless as some of the beasts that inhabit it. It's a good movie to watch and laugh at for 90 minutes, but in my opinion, it would be much better suited as a concept for a video game than a movie.
Incredible. Fantastic. Glorious combo. Majestic. Appalling. Epic.
See? Why didn't they just do that more? It's right there. Take it.